Hey, welcome back to Vegas Golden Knights recap. Today we'll be talking about the draft. That's right. Brody, give me a quick breakdown of the draft.
It's a draft. It's a playground style draft.
Bam! Great. Playground style. You go, then you go, then you go, and then whoever the short guy is doesn't get picked.
Yes, exactly correct.
That means you, Brody.
Poor Cole Caulfield.
Okay.
Or Cole Caulfield.
So let's talk about what picks we have, kind of the order that we're picking in. So in the first round of the draft, we have the 17th pick.
That's correct.
The second round, we have the 48th pick. The third round, we have the 79th, 82nd, and 86th pick.
That's a lot of picks.
The fourth round, we have the 110th pick. And the fifth round, we have the 135th, 139th, and 141st.
We do not have a pick in the 6th or the 7th round.
Okay, so how many rounds are there?
There are 7 rounds.
There are 7 rounds, and we
Yep.
don't have any picks in those last rounds.
Yeah, but like if you get picked in like the 6th or the 7th round, the likelihood of you working out is like really low. Generally, the conventional wisdom is if you get picked in the first round, that's pretty highly likely that you're going to play at some point. Second round, it gets a little iffy, especially the late second round. Third round, it's basically just shoot your shot and then goaltenders. And then anything past that, it's just like, maybe.
So from my knowledge, you're not really picking for the next year, right? You're picking for like way down the line. It's different from the NFL in that way.
Exactly correct. Yeah. Unless you're the first 3 picks, and sometimes not even that, you're basically not playing next year. You could see the first overall picks. Obviously, like Connor McDavid played his first year, things like that. There are players who stand out that much, but for the most part, no. If you're picked outside of the top 10, you're probably not playing next year. You're going straight to the minors.
So you get picked to be on the team, and then you play in the minors, and basically kind of gets you grow up in the minors essentially to then eventually join the actual team.
Exactly right. So next season might be the first season that a Knights draft pick will actually play on the team. Even that seems maybe a little bit, iffy. Our first major pick that would come up would be Cody Glass, and it seems unlikely like he's going to get a chance to play on the team next year, but we might see a couple defensemen that we'll talk about later come up and play. Overall, 17th in the draft, you're going to get somebody there who can play on your team. Maybe not necessarily like a top line player, but definitely if we're looking at, there's a couple of good wingers around that should be available around when we're picking. And there's a couple really good players that if they drop down to us, it's like snap that up. My Cole Caulfield joke, for example.
Now, looking at the team going forward, we got to worry about the cap.
Yeah. So right now, currently, we are spending $83 million, some change, whatever, $83 million. And next year's cap hasn't come out yet. We should know by the end of this week, assuming this video comes out like tomorrow. We'll know by the end of the week how much it's going to be, but it's going to be somewhere between, like I've heard as low as 81, but that would be really bad if it was that low. 82 seems to be the conventional wisdom. 83 was what people thought it was going to be. And so that seems unlikely at this point. And so basically what that means is that if we want to re-sign some people that we need to re-sign, Carlson, Gusev, we need to clear up some space.
So we clear up space. We just remove people. I'm assuming there's obviously no changing of contracts per se.
Yeah, you can't just be like, hey, Marchessault, we can't pay you $5 million anymore.
Marchessault, fuck you.
Yeah, basically. So with that in mind, there's a couple contracts that people have thrown around. There's one contract, David Clarkson, which anyone who knows anything about the team will recognize that player does not play for us. In fact, he does not play. We picked up that contract in the expansion draft. We got it from Columbus. It's like a $5.25 million contract. So that's eating up a lot of cap space. And if we could get rid of that, that would be really, really, really good. The reason that we picked up that contract is because we got Columbus's first round pick and we got William Karlsson for that, which we might recognize William Karlsson as being a kind of good player.
Oh, just a little good,
Yeah.
Somewhere in the middle.
Plus you got a first round draft pick, which we traded with Winnipeg at the time. And then I don't remember who we picked up with that draft pick. It was one of either Suzuki, Brandstrom, or Glass.
So what do you think they'll do to try and handle the cap?
So obviously, like I said, the number one thing is you want to get rid of that Clarkson contract. And so people are saying, well, we need a sweetener in that. So maybe you can ship off a player along with that. A lot of people have pointed at Colin Miller for that. And then also maybe people might be wanting some of our draft picks. We do have most of our draft picks for the next 2 years. We do have the Pittsburgh second round draft pick next year. So maybe there's some combination of sending Colin Miller, right-handed defenseman, very high commodity right now because the defenseman market is getting pretty thin, plus maybe a second round draft pick and the Clarkson contract to somebody who needs it. I've heard a couple people, like Toronto fans, saying maybe the Leafs could pick that up. The Leafs are also pretty tight up against the cap, but they kind of need a right-handed defenseman since Nikita Zaitsev seems to be going. So some people have been saying maybe Zaitsev for Miller, and then they'll pick up the contract, and then we send them a draft pick their way, because the Clarkson contract's only on the book for 1 more year. So basically, you just need to find somebody who can hold that for 1 year, and then you're good. You're golden. Besides that, so the Clarkson contract is the biggest thing that you want to get rid of. Like I said, 5.25, which if you get rid of that, that's Carlson's money right there. Obviously, some of it you're losing because you're over the cap, but that's basically what you need to get rid of in order to get Carlson signed. And then you need to find maybe another $2 million or so to sign Gusev. And if you move Miller along with the Clarkson contract, you've got your extra $2 million right there. So that seems like the obvious move that anyone is going to make.
Now, what about Nosek in England?
So those are free agents. Carlson and Gusev are both restricted free agents, which basically means that they have to sign with us. But they can get offer sheeted, which we'll go into offer sheets if you want. But let's talk about this first. So Nosek in England, however, they don't necessarily need to re-sign. Belmar is probably gone, and I think that it would probably be best for the Knights overall if England was gone, because we have a lot of young defensemen coming up who can take that spot, and England is getting kind of old and slow, as sad as it is, right? You should have just made him captain in the first year, and then it wouldn't feel so bad.
A lot of people with some England jerseys might feel a little sad about that one.
I think from being in the circles, from what I've seen, it seems like a lot of people kind of view this team sort of strangely. It's like people don't have the nostalgia for players yet, where they're like, oh, I love that guy. I mean, obviously we love our guys, but like it seems like people are still super in love with the team as a whole. So
we're not following players, we're just kind of following.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people are kind of like, yeah, England, it's going to be better for the team if you just kind of, go. Like a lot of people want him to see him go work in the back office or something like that. But, it is what it is.
Well, let's talk about some of these prospects we have coming in.
So I am pointing at 4 in particular who I think have the best chance to play next season. I mentioned Cody Glass. He was one of our big 3 first-round draft picks. So our first draft, we picked up 3 players in the draft. Erik Brannstrom, in the first round of the draft. Erik Brannstrom, Nick Suzuki, and Cody Glass. Suzuki went to Montreal for the Max Pacioretty contract, which people like Pacioretty, I guess. He's pretty good. Had a down season, but he's pretty good. Brannstrom went to Ottawa for Mark Stone. Also heard he's kind of a good player. And then Glass has been the one that they are holding on to. He is the future. So he played with the Portland Winterhawks in the OHL this last season, did pretty well, and then he went over to the Chicago Wolves, who were in the AHL playoffs. They got all the way to the Calder Cup final. Was that Calder Cup? I think so. Yeah, Calder Cup finals. No, it's not the Calder Cup. I don't remember. Memorial Cup?
You would know better than me. I have no
Whatever.
idea.
They made it all
not
the way
even
to
the faintest clue.
They made it all the way to the final round, and they lost to the Charlotte Checkers, which is the Carolina Hurricanes minor league team. So, but they made it all the way to the final, to the equivalent of the Stanley Cup for the AHL. And Glass was playing very, very well for them. And I think I could see Glass spending 1 whole year down there, maybe as I don't know if you would call him the captain of the Wolves, especially because he's the first call-up if anyone gets injured in the Knights' center core. But as somebody who is there for 1 more year of development, and then I can totally see him popping up the year after Stastny, maybe taking up that second-line center role, Stastny moving down to third-line center kind of thing. I don't think Glass is going to play, but besides that, we have 3 defensive prospects, quote unquote. I'm going to say, because 2 of them are prospects, and one of them, Jimmy Schultz, signed out of the NCAA at the end of last season. So Haig and Schultz are both left-handed shots, which means that they shoot from the way that would be most comfortable if you're right-handed. Does that make sense? And then Whitecloud is a right-handed shot, which means that he's basically left-handed. He shoots, and so right-handed shots are very, very difficult to come by, and they're very, very, very valuable. That's what makes Erik Karlsson super duper valuable, is that he's an elite level talent, but he's also a right-handed shot. So you can slide one of them in, and if you move the Miller contract, it makes sense. Maybe you pop up Whitecloud, you stick him right in that space. And then also, if you move on from England, then you've also got that spot for Haig or Schultz to move them up. And the question then being, what did the Knights promise Schultz at the end of last season to get him to sign with the Knights? So maybe Schultz was promised NHL ice time, and so maybe he'll come up and play. And then, if it's not working out, you can move him around, trade Haig and Schultz up, and jigger some things around. But it seems like there's going to be, if things work out properly, a right-handed slot for Whitecloud to play, and then a left-handed slot for Schultz or Haig to play in.
Now, some people were talking about it, and I'd like to hear your opinion on it. Do you think we should be looking into getting a new goalie? Like, starting to train a new guy? Like, we have Fleury. We're obviously not going to replace him for at least a little bit.
We got him for 3 more years.
We should we at this point be looking into finding someone new?
We are pretty deep in terms of the goaltender prospects. I know a lot of people look at Spencer Knight and go, I want Spencer Knight to be a Knight. But
I mean, is that all they want, is just because of his
No, he's
name,
good.
Or?
No, he's good. But goaltending is such voodoo, as people say. You go from somebody like Robin Lehner, who not last season but the season before was with the Buffalo Sabres, and he was having sort of addiction problems, and he was not playing well. And then you go to him this season, where he played with the New York Islanders, and he was one of the best goaltenders in the entire regular season. So goaltending is such voodoo that you can never tell what's going on. And we have several defensive prospects, or defensive goalie prospects you can pull up. And also, I think people kind of sleep on Subban. He's one of the better backups in the league. He's good. And he just didn't get to play very much last season, because you start the season 20 games without Schmidt, and then so you need to basically stay in the running for the first little bit, and then they were like, oh, we don't know if we're going to make that the cut in terms of getting that playoff spot, so we're going to ride Fleury all the way to the end. And then as soon as we clinch that playoff spot, you rest Fleury, and we played pretty much average from then on. We didn't play badly from then on. And so I don't really see what people's problem with Subban is.
I think Subban's really going to come into his own.
Plus, he's pretty young.
Soon here.
I could see him playing 35, 40 games next season. So if people don't like Subban, you better not watch.
Do you think we'll have him for a long while, or do you think we might trade him out to someone else?
I could see a lot of people going high on him. If you don't like him, then trade him for somebody else's goalie prospect, or maybe move him along with a deal, because we do have Max Lagasse can pick up those games and play in the NHL, and then you move somebody else up to the Wolves to play with that. Zach Fucale for I think is the fourth guy in line. And then also you could just pick up somebody in that one of those 5th round slots and basically call it good. Because like I said, goalieing is such voodoo that nobody knows what they're doing. So that's why goalies almost never get picked in the first round, is because you see somebody who's like a sure shot prospect. The example for that was Jack Campbell, who was seen basically very, very similar to Spencer Knight. And then he is the 3rd string goalie on the LA Kings. So just,
Oof.
Yeah, he's just goaltending is voodoo.
You never know what you'll get.
Yeah, it's just spin the wheel every year, basically.
Well, do you have any other topics you want to cover on our predictions and analysis, if you would, of the draft?
Well, we'll know what they do in a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised to see.
We'll know in a day or two.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a move before the draft, maybe to try and pick up that extra cap space. If not, maybe move. I wouldn't be surprised to see that first round draft pick at 17 either get moved up to try and grab somebody that they really, really love, or moved down, to trade with somebody who's below us to get rid of the contract and free up some space to sign some boys.
Well, there you have it. This has been our Vegas Golden Knights recap. Thank you for watching or listening or doing whatever you do.
Yep, and so begins the horrible shit part of the season where you just wait and nothing happens.
You just wait and and
then you wait
you
some
read their tweets every now and again and you're like, hey, look, it's the Knights.
Yeah.
Excited for that to start again.
Hey, they told us about the preseason games. I wish they had, saved that announcement so that everything exciting didn't happen all in one fucking day.